folks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Natasha and I do book things here. This video is the third video out of 6 of my Stephen King week where I am doing different characters. I decided to do Cujo because Cujo. Cujo, in my opinion, is one of the scariest Stephen King novels, and it's slow, but the thing is about Cujo is there's no paranormal elements to it. It is a realistic thing that could happen. Cujo is the dog in the book Cujo, who unfortunately gets rabies and then is attacking a mother and her son in a car. It's very dramatic, it's very frightening, and it's, like I said, something realistic. It also feels very claustrophobic because it's hard to escape this dog. So Cujo's not a villain. Cujo, because of the rabies, makes him a villain. And I picked 6 books here that Cujo would read in various stages of him getting rabies and going rabies crazy, basically. Be asking, how did you pick 6 books that a dog would read? Well, you'll see. So the first book I have here is a newer book, and one that I found so interesting and so troubling that I actually stopped and put down because it was giving me vibes. Apolo Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. Now, this book is a post-apocalyptic tale following this crow named Shitturd. A look at animals talking to each other after the apocalypse, where humans are just zombies now. And it's very upsetting, it's very hard to read. It's almost, in a way, Cujo backwards, which I find really interesting. It's not that the dogs are attacking, it's more that the humans are, you know what I mean, damaged in some way. And I haven't finished this, and this is something that I really want to finish. But I will say that in this book, it is very hard to hear about cats and dogs and animals of humans after their humans are incapable of taking care of them. So I found it just really emotional being a cat owner. But I think Cujo would read this because it is looking at various animals and their voices and their innocence, and at the end of the day, Cujo is an innocent dog. He, you know, didn't mean to get rabies, just like any of the events in this book didn't really mean to happen as well. That feeling that you get when reading Cujo where he is innocent is the big star of this book. So I have yet to finish this, but I am excited about it, and I think that Cujo would read this to get other animals' perspectives on a troubling situation. So next book I have here may be an obvious one. I don't know. When you think of dogs in books, this is one that sort of is obvious. That is The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Steen. So this is my friend Cody's favorite book, and I asked for my bachelorette, actually, for my friends to give me their favorite books and write a little note in it. So this book follows Enzo and a dog's point of view, and a dog's point of view as he's going through life and discovering things, and has an ability to smell out certain things. And it's hard and it's troubling to read, and it's pretty upsetting. This is another book where you're looking at the world through a dog's point of view, and very much like Cujo, you get a lot of those innocent feelings. And I think Cujo would read this, just again, to have another dog's perspective and maybe relate to a lot of things and understand a lot of things, and maybe find out a little bit more about humans through Enzo's point of view. The next book I have here is kind of an interesting one, and you're gonna be like, why? And when I first thought of this book, I put it in a list, and then I stacked them up on my shelves, and then I looked back and I went, why would Cujo read this? I had to take a second to figure out my thought process. Anyway, this is a stretch, but just hear me out on this. I think that Cujo would read The Martian. Why? Once Cujo gets deeper into his rabies, it's a very isolating book. It's very focused. He is focused on this car and the people inside it, and the people are focused on the danger that is around them being Cujo. This book really focuses on one person and a very contained area where everything around them wants to kill them. So I feel like this is the best book in relation to Cujo in the environment and the pacing and the danger that is around them. It feels like every time Mark tries to get somewhere, there's just constant danger and the environment wants to kill him. It may not be a rabid dog, but it's very closed off and isolated. He's the only man on freaking Mars, so I can feel like in Cujo, the people that he's attacking can feel like they're just very isolated within their environment. So I think Cujo would read The Martian. There's a sentence I never thought I would say, yet here we are. So next up is a book that Cujo would read, again, just for a really strong dog presence in it and really strong dog character. And that book is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. In this book, you're following Todd, who has this dog named Manchi. Because of the environment, Todd can hear Menchie talk, basically, but Menchie can only talk in Todd. I think that Cujo would maybe look at this as a way to better communicate with humans, perhaps as a way to explain what is going on with him. This book is intense, even though it is a young adult book, and this book also made me cry. Maybe Cujo would learn a thing or two about adventure. It would probably make Cujo cry. So, and the last two books I have here are definitely ones for when Cujo is starting to get deeper into his rabies brain and is getting a little bit more intense and crazy. I have here is one that I have not read, but that is Rant by Chuck Palahniuk, and this book follows the story of this man who is a serial killer, and he is crazy. There's some just crazy stuff in this book. Chuck Palahniuk's book are all like just really intense, but in this he does end up getting rabies, and I think it would be really interesting for Cujo to sort of read a human story about getting rabies. I think Cujo in his madness would read Chuck Palahniuk, because you kind of have to be a little bit mad to read his work because it's wild. An interesting sort of end of life kind of experience for Cujo. And then the last book that I have here that I have read and that I think Cujo would read as well is Going Bovine by Libre. This is one of the weirder books I've ever read. Cameron, who is given the news that he is going to die, but is he? It's a really complex book, it's really intense, but essentially he has mad cow disease, which is sort of making holes in his brain as he goes into sort of delusions, and what is real and what's not is this really interesting fine line. He becomes friends with this cow and also a gnome, and this book truly looks at the inner turmoil of going mad and going bovine, going mad cow disease. I think that Cujo in his madness of rabies could look at this character and relate and compare sort of what is going on in his dog brain to what is going on in Cameron's brain, seeing these delusions and not really understanding what is happening in his own reality. Maybe relate and maybe learn some things as well. But yeah, those are the 6 books that I think that Cujo would read. Leave me any comments down below for more books that you think that Cujo would like so that he can read them. Leave me a comment down below what other characters you think is gonna pop out this week, and you might be right. So hopefully you guys like this one, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.